Well, hello. From now, we'll learn how to get our Android application to interact with internet and servers, right? So first of all, we'll need to have some knowledge of how the server internet works, how databases works. So I'm gonna teach you the basics of MySQL database and PHP language. There are basically many languages and databases which we can use, but as a beginner, MySQL database alongside PHP is the most easy to learn, right? So they are there for quite a long time as well, and they are more reliable as well, right? So let's first see how MySQL and PHP works. I'm gonna teach you the basics. I'm not gonna go deeper into that. We'll just see how to perform CRUD operation: create, read, update, and delete from database using PHP. So first of all, we need the server. So in order to use the server in our PC, I have downloaded XAMPP. You can download it. You can just Google download XAMPP, XAMPP. You can download it from them. The installation process is very simple. You just give next and it will download itself. So it is very simple, right? Now we have Apache and MySQL inside it. So Apache is the server and MySQL is the database. So in order to use them, we start the services, and going back to browser, if I want to access it, I use the local IP address, that is 127.0.0.1, which is the local IP address for every PC, right? If I go to the URL, it will be redirected to the XAMPP landing page, right? So this is how we access the XAMPP server. This is the IP address, and in order to access databases, we click on PHP myadmin, or we can just write the IP address /PHP myadmin. These are the databases inside it. So there is a little problem here. The problem is with IP address. We are gonna run our Android application on either emulator or the external mobile phone, right? So we cannot access this 127.0.0.1 IP address from emulator or external devices. So in order to access XAMPP database or XAMPP files, we need to access this from different IP address, right? For example, let me show you the IP address I am actually connected to. IP config, I'm connected to 192.168.421.181, right? Let me write 192.168.42.181. Now I want to access XAMPP from this IP. I cannot, right? I have to change some configuration files in XAMPP in order to access that from the remote IP address, right? So open XAMPP. I'll show you how to do that. Open XAMPP and click on this config file in the Apache row config and go to httpd xampp.config file and press Ctrl F and write require, right? And find every single iteration of this require. And for example, here I have already changed the configurations. Require, you have in your file it must be written something else. I don't remember what is written by default, but it is not all granted, right? You have to change what is written. You have to erase it and write all granted. Make sure you don't make any spelling mistakes, right? So at every iteration in the file, you have to change require all granted, right? And then you save the file and exit it. Now you can access XAMPP files from remote IPs as well. In order to do that, after as we have changed the configuration, we have to stop the process and stop the Apache and restart it, so the service gets refreshed, right? So now if I write the IP address I am actually connected to and I entered it, I can access XAMPP files as well. So I've shown you how you can access the databases, but we have to put some files on our server folder as well. So let me show you where you put your server files exactly. Open my PC and go to the C drive and open XAMPP folder, or it might not be in the C drive. I have installed XAMPP in C drive. You might have installed it on some other location. So in short, go to XAMPP folder and open htdocs folder, and this is the server folder basically, and here is where you host your server files. I have made a demo folder for this tutorial, and I have made a basic HTML file, as you can see right inside this demo and index.php. It's a basic HTML CSS file. Let me show you this in browser. Basically I have used Bootstrap framework to make all things fast, and I've just made a form with name, email, and a submit button. So what we are gonna do is that we'll write name, email, and we'll submit. When we submit it, we insert this value inside the database. So let's make a database first. Click on new and write demo, right, or whatever the name you like, and inside we have to create a table. I'll name it user, and we will create columns inside this as well. First is ID, and it will be auto incremented and with primary key. Then we have two fields, name and email. So name, which will be varchar and 255, email, which will also be varchar and 255. That's it, and save it. Now we have a database. We have our HTML file inside our server. We can see that as a preview as well, and we have our server running as well. So now let's insert some values through this form inside this database. So first of all, open your editor and create a new file called db.php to make a connection between this file and where is it, this file and database. So open php code, php block, and take some variables. One will be host will be localhost for XAMPP, then user will be root, and password for database it will be blank, and database that we have created that we want to connect equal to demo, right? So now in order to connect, we call a function called mysqli underscore connect, and we pass these four values, right? Host, then user, then password, and then database. So in order to check whether it is connected or not, I'm gonna take a variable called connection, and I'll check if connection echo connected, right? So let's run this file db.php. As you can see, our database is connected, right? So we don't really need it, is just for checking purpose. Let's change this if some error occurs, it will show not connected, right? So now go back to index.php. Now we have our server files connected to our database. Open PHP block right on top and include that file right here, db.php, right? Now we have this form input as name and email. I have given name as name and name as email to this block, and name as button, name submit to the button. So now open a PHP log and check if anything is submitted by form. We'll do the process of further, right? So in order to check that, we write if is set $_post. As you can see, the method is post in the form, right? If $_post submit, if this has something, then go further. Then go further. Now I'll take name in one variable, $_post name, yes, name, and yeah, just ignore this block of code, is just the bootstrap extra code, right? And for email, I'll take a variable email equals to $_post email, right? Now we have everything we need to insert inside our database. Now we write query to insert. If you don't know how to write query, you can just go to SQL and click here, insert. The query will be written down here. So I'm just gonna copy it and I'll write insert into user. I'm not gonna insert any ID because it is auto incremented. It will add itself as the value is added. So we'll enter name and email. Value of name will be $name. Don't forget to write this comma as we are inputting string inside it, right? And the value of email is $email. Now we'll use another function, MySQLi_query, and we'll pass the connection variable that we have inside our db.php, and we'll pass our query as a parameter to this function. And I'll take a variable as a result in order to check if our query has run successfully or not. $result, if it is successful, then echo value inserted, right? So let's check. Go to our page and refresh it. I'll enter name Dhruv and email as dhruv111@gmail.com. It's not my actual email address, right? So submit. As you can see, value is inserted, and if we check in the database, here value is inserted, right? So insert is finished. Now we have to read these values. So in order to do that, I have create another block of code. I'm just gonna copy it. You just don't need to worry about anything here, right? I'm just gonna copy this and I'll paste it here. So what I have copied is this table, right? I don't need this actually. Yeah, so for ID, name, then email, then we'll edit it, and we'll also delete it, right? So okay, and delete it. ID, name, email, edit and delete. So in order to get values from database, this is the static values, as you know. In order to show values from database, we'll have to write some PHP code here. So let's open some PHP file. First of all, right here, PHP blog, not file. Did I just say file? I might be. So anyway, open PHP blog right here and make a query. Query will be select star from user. It will select everything, every single value from the user table, and it will give an output. So again, we'll use my sqli underscore, where is it, my sqli underscore query. We'll pass connection variable and query to it, and we'll take a variable result. Now if we get any result, then we'll loop through it while $row equals to MySqli underscore fetch associate. What this function will do, that whatever we get in the result, it will make an associative array out of that, and it will pass to this variable, right? So we'll pass $result inside it, and we'll remove these two and come down here and open another PHP block and paste those two braces right here. What happens that while we are looping through this, we are already inside a loop if we go right here, right? So first of all, we have to echo ID. So we write echo and we'll take ID, we'll fetch ID from this row, as we have passed this result, and we are passing associative array inside this variable. So $row and ID, right? Now I'm just gonna copy this and I'll paste it here. Instead of ID, I'll write name and email. So that's it. If I go here, I'll have every single value. Oh wait, I don't have this much of, do I? Okay, we have 10 values, so it's showing 10 times. So let me just delete some of them. Delete it. Yes. So now if I refresh it, we only have this one value, right? Let me just clear this so we don't have anything written right here. So we have three values. Again, this was inserted again, so ignore it. So this is how you read the values from database. Now I want to add it and delete these values. So in order to do that, we'll pass where is it, yeah, first we'll take a tag and we'll pass href as edit.php. we haven't created this file, we are gonna id equals to I'm just going to copy this and paste it over here, right? So and yes, I'll write edit. So if I hover over here, you can see the URL that it will redirect inside the left right corner just above the start menu. Demo edit.php !id equals to 1 right here. id equals to 11, 12, everything, right? So now if I click this, it will redirect me to edit.php file, but we haven't created it. So let's create it. Edit.php. It will basically have a form which I'm just gonna copy the form from here. Let's just copy everything and we'll delete unnecessary things from here. We don't need this form, so sorry, this table, so delete it. And yeah, instead of placeholder we'll write value and value, right? And I'll keep it right here as it is. Now open another PHP block and write a query. $query equals to select star from user where id equals to $id. We are gonna compare IDs. How? We are gonna take this ID 1, 11 and we'll compare it to the database, and if anything matches we'll show those inside the form, right? So for now we don't have any variable called id, so open a PHP block and if $_get, as we are passing the id through get method, and if it has id then take a variable called $id equals to $_get id, right? So now we have value $result equals to MySql underscore connect connection and query $query. If $result while $row or whatever the name you like, MySQLi fetch associated, because I want associative array $result, and just as we did before open another PHP block and paste those braces right here. Now we have everything inside row, and as the value I'll pass PHP echo $row name, and I'll just copy this whole thing and paste it right here, and instead of name I write email, right? So let me refresh it, and if I click on this, okay, we have error. So MySQLi connect expect parameter 1 to be string given in edit PHP line 59. So where is line 59? Connection $query. Copy this and paste it. Refresh. Still use of undefined constant assume as on 81. Okay, we don't need it. We still have this error. Why? I don't know. query underscore select. Okay, not connect. I have used wrong function. MySql underscore query. Yeah. Okay, so as we can see, let me just do it again. If I click on edit, we have values through and the email that is connected to id1. We can see in the database id1, the value is through and through111@gmail.com. So let me just delete all here, right? So again, let's insert some value. Grade developers gry@gmail.com. Submit. Yeah, we have new value, and if I add it, grade developers gry@gmail.com. So now if we change something here, if I say I want to change it to gray, and if I click this, the value inside database should change from gray developers to only gray. So now how you do that? Just as we have inserted the value, but instead of using insert query, we'll use update query. I'm just going to copy this from here and update. We don't need to update id. We'll update name as $name and email as $email, where id equals to $id, right? So now if I refresh it and I go edit and I change it to gray and submit, as we can see, the value is changed right here. But now I want to redirect after. If it is changed, I want to redirect to the index.php page. So how I do that? If $result, if the update query gets successful, I want to redirect to the index page. So I use header function and pass location as index.php. Don't forget semicolon at the end, right? Let's refresh it and edit it again, and I will change to gray developers. As you can see, the value is changed. So this is how you update the values. Now we have to delete it. So go to index.php and copy this whole thing, a tag, and paste it right here and change it to delete. Instead of edit.php, we just need to add delete.php, and we have to create a new file named delete.php. Now go to that file and open a PHP blog, and if $_get id, if we have passed id, as we can see, we have passed delete.php id equals to id, right? We have passed, so we'll get it on this variable $_get id. Now we have id, and we'll write query to delete it equals to, I'm just going to copy it again, yeah, where id equals to $id, right? Now my sqli underscore query $connection. So in order to use $connection, I'll have to include dp.php right here, include dp.php, because $connection variable is defined inside dp.php, right? So yeah, that's result and if deletion is successful, I want to go back to the index.php location, index.php. So that's it. It should work perfectly. Okay, now let's refresh it. I want to delete this entry, so if I there's something wrong in index.php. We have, yeah, this is extra, right? So if I delete, it will be deleted from database as well. As you can see, no entry of gray developers. So let's enter it, gray developers, gray, submit. We have new entry, we can edit it, .com 123 or whatever. We have edited, and we can delete it as well. So this is how you perform CRUD operations in MySQL database using PHP. So from the next lecture, we'll see how we can perform the same operation inside our Android Studio, and how we can make an application like that using that, right? So at the end of that, I'm thinking we'll develop a small application which will have a login functionality. We'll basically uh, create sign up and login application, right? We'll sign up and then we'll log in inside application using what we have learned so far at the end of this uh, videos, right? So I think this is it for this video. This is the basics of PHP and MySQL that you should know, and if you don't, I've already shown you how to perform operations. So that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next lecture.